Welcome to the VHS Files. We've talked Conan, we've talked Willow. Now it's time to put the two together, and we're talking Beastmaster, released in 1982, months after Conan the Barbarian. I'm joined by my furry friends that I sometimes fight with about movies, Eric and Jason. How you doing, guys?
Hello, Josh.
Doing great, Josh.
So yeah, I mean we've talked some sword and sandal stuff in the past with Willow and Conan and everything, and now we're digging into, I guess, the B-movie territory of sword and sandal. Would you say?
I would.
Yeah.
It's almost like exploitation.
Well, what I find weird about this movie, now we'll get into our nostalgia here in just a little bit, but I'll go ahead and spoil a little something. Didn't watch this as a kid. Don't have any nostalgia for the Beastmaster, so that might tell you about where I'm coming from talking about this movie. But it was, in doing the behind-the-scenes research on this, they wanted to go for something that was sword and sandal, but also kind of mixed in the Disney animal sort of style of movie. So there was this big, Jason and the Argonauts, Hercules, all that kind of influence that they had going into this, and then Disney movies. And watching it in that context, I absolutely see that. How about you guys? Did you notice how the animal stuff seems very kiddie and the other stuff seems a little more like adult themed?
I hadn't read that, but I did read that they, there's not a lot of blood in this movie with all the sword fighting and stuff, and I read that they pulled back on that to get the PG rating or whatever. But then there's all this like toplessness, so I guess that wasn't a big deal when you're thinking of like trying to bring the family in.
Yeah, it's
I don't know.
Disney meets Dar Diggler from Boogie Nights. That's his porn name.
There's a lot of skin in this movie, a lot of ass,
a lot of ass,
indiscriminatory ass too. Man ass.
Yeah, there's some deleted scenes.
Kid ass.
There's some deleted scenes that show some sides of Tawny Roberts that she didn't want seen.
Oh no!
Oh, I wonder if our pube watcher found any pubes in this movie. Josh,
wait until we get into the conversation to find out, my friend. But yes, the Beastmaster, released in 1982. Eric, why don't you take us back in time to 1982 and let us know what was going on back then?
Well, Josh, in 1982, you'd put on your geometric pattern sweater with goofy sleeves and big-ass shoulder pads, hop into your 1984 Ford Escort, and crank some hits like Jack and Diane by John Mellencamp or Hungry Like the Wolf by Duran Duran. Hit up the theater for classics like E.T. or Blade Runner. Be sure to check out movies we've reviewed from 1982, The Thing, Conan the Barbarian, and Poltergeist.
Damn right.
In 1982, Charles Brooks Jr. became the first person to be executed by lethal injection in the United States. Guess which state, Jason? Any guesses?
Texas.
Texas. Did you guys know Did you guys know that they actually a tree received the death penalty one time?
No.
It was because it had committed treason. Oh, I got a drum roll for that.
Really?
Or a
Wow.
a rim shot. Yeah, the synthetic chemical element meitnerium, atomic number 109, is the first synthesized in Germany in 1982. I would tell a joke about the periodic table, but sadly all the good ones are gone. Yeah.
Wow. Sheldon Cooper would like that joke.
Yeah. Honda becomes the first Asian automobile company to produce cars in the United States with the opening of their factory in Ohio in 1982. Do you guys know how you tie two Hondas together?
With a cord?
Jason!
I'm a car guy!
You don't answer the jokes! God!
I wanted to take it away from you.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Real good wingman I got here. And finally, here's the cutting edge in phone technology from 1982. Hit it, Josh.
Your Bell Phone Center presents Bell
wow,
Attractions.
Bell Phone.
And this speakerphone to your present phone. Have a family
Speakerphone.
Holy shit.
I'm
And the Bell answer and record unit.
I
Conference
remember
phone.
going to houses that had that.
Look at this.
Add our Touch-O-Matic dial.
Dude, I
or the
remember.
Touch-O-Matic
Look at that.
phone For the ease of
You
one
can call the
touch
sitter. You can call Ken, Greg. Push of a
Just hit the
button.
button. Push of a
Hit the
button.
button. Greg's on the phone.
Center. See
Bam.
what they can add to your life.
Wow.
Dude, touch tone technology. Dude, I was still, even in 1982, I was still running a rotary phone.
Hell yeah. So was
Yeah.
I. I mean, I was a baby, and I was a newborn baby in 1982.
I was 5.
But-
so I would still remember
Yeah.
rotary phones.
Yeah, you were working in the coal mines.
Yes! I got the black lung, Pa.
That's exactly where my mind went. Well, thank you for taking us back to 1982, Eric. Now we're going to start
You're
discussing
welcome.
the Beastmaster a little bit. This one was a modest budget of $14.1 million. Ended up doing a box office of $9 million. So wasn't really great at the box office. Didn't do too well. This was probably because it came literally months after Conan the Barbarian, which this
3
movie hits some of the same beats as Conan. So, but what this movie is most famous for is being on HBO all of the
All
time.
the time.
So much so
Yes.
that the common thing, and this is something I saw in the behind the scenes stuff, was HBO didn't stand for home box office. It stood for, hey, Beastmaster's on.
Hey! Yes!
That's good. That's good.
Total. That is 100% true. I remember that. Dude, you saw that the HBO logo roll through, and you're like, let's flip a coin. Is it going to be Beastmaster?
Yep.
Well, it's funny because because of this, I associate this movie with my friend Matt's house growing up, and I guess they had HBO. I don't know, but it was always on at his house. Like when I see this movie, I think Matt's house. I don't know why it was always on TV, whatever, but yeah, I don't think I ever really watched it start to finish. Like you said, it was on TV a lot, so I would always see parts of it. So I felt pretty familiar with it coming into this, but not really like from a start to finish kind of way.
That's something one of the people in the behind the scenes were talking about. They interviewed a bunch of filmmakers talking about Beastmaster and its influence on them making movies. Adam Wingard, who did one of the VHS segments and the newest Blair Witch movie. He did something. Oh, he did the Hatchet movies, I think, is what Adam Wingard did. But, you know, he's talking about this movie, and then there's Joe Lynch talking about it as well. And they're like, you know, you probably didn't see this movie in full the first couple of times you saw anything about Beastmaster. You probably saw a piece of it here, a piece of it there, and then finally at some point in your life you watched Beastmaster.
When you have a movie podcast
Right.
later in
No.
life.
If you want to touch on the nostalgia of this movie, I have probably seen this movie hundreds of times.
Which
Wow.
And
Wow.
that's what I'll get to here is for someone who was such a sucker for Conan the Barbarian and a lot of the sword and sandal stuff when in the 80s, I never sat down and watched Beastmaster. I literally this wasn't my first viewing for the show, but literally probably my first watch for this was maybe 4 months ago. Like it's that recent of a first watch for me.
Yeah.
So
yeah, this movie for me, it's cool because you travel down memory lane. I have a lot of memories of my grandparents' house, and I would come and stay here, which is where I live now. And the neighbor, they had a girl my age, and when I came here, it was the only kid to play with here. And we would go to her house, and her parents recorded Beastmaster off HBO, and they let us watch this as children. And I'm talking 6, 7 years old.
yeah.
And we didn't care about the nudity part. We didn't know what that was at that time. We're just watching Poto and Kodo and all the animals. And we watched this and The Secret of NIMH so many times as a child. I can't, like I said, dude, I bet you I've seen it hundreds of times easily. It was only 2 VHS movies that they would let us watch.
So are you going to school us on this movie? Like,
What the problem is now that I'm also nearly 46 years old, my memory sucks. So when I watch this movie, it's like, oh shit, I forgot about that. Oh shit, I forgot about that too. But yeah, this movie, it definitely held that nostalgia for me of seeing it so many times as a small kid, not as a teenager or anything. I mean, I saw this as, before teenager years.
Yeah.
So,
right.
I mean, of course I watched it after my teenager years because it's got Tanya Roberts in it. But,
I mean, Tanya Roberts was someone you saw a lot in the 80s. I mean, she was in a Bond movie. She was a Bond girl. She was, she was in A couple other horror movies that you would have saw
She was
in the
Sheena.
80s. Sheena, yep. And that's something I also wanted to touch on here in just a minute, but you know, we'll go ahead and put it out there. Rotten Tomatoes score for this for the critics is a 46%. I didn't expect it to be very high. And
That's
audience
fair.
score audience score of 54%. So even the audience is still a little divided on Beastmaster. But again, I think that may come with a lot of what happened as far as the release of this movie around the same time as Conan. Now, in talking about the production of this and actually doing the behind-the-scenes research, this movie was directed by Don Coscarelli. I think is that how you say his
Really?
name?
I think
looks
that's
like
how
it.
I've always said it.
I'm terrible with names. Everybody knows that. So, but Don Coscarelli, who is famous for directing one of Jason's favorite horror movies, we've talked about it in the past, Phantasm.
Fantastic.
And Phantasm was basically, I don't want to say a student film for him, but it was one of his very first films, and it was an independent horror movie. He got a lot of free reign to do whatever he wanted to do on that movie. And then going into this was obviously going to be a bigger budget, bigger scale. You know, they had to do you find all of the location scouts and all of that, and they had a bigger crew than they had ever had on a movie before working on this. So it was an undertaking. And but just in talking about Conan, Don Coscarelli, you know, I was going to come into this review of Beastmaster really kind of giving it a lot of shit for taking a lot of things from Conan. After watching some of the behind the scenes stuff, I felt like I needed to rein it back a little bit because he really put a lot of time and effort into Beastmaster. And it was a passion project for him, even though the studio got really involved with a lot of the decisions that were made, and he wasn't very happy with some of that stuff. He really kind of takes he's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder when people call this a Conan ripoff. Now, coming from you guys who have seen this movie more than I have at this particular point, what do you think in that regard? Like, Jason, would you say this is a better movie than Conan?
To me, it's not. I mean, I do love this movie. Like I said, the whole nostalgia as a child watching, but I watch Conan probably as much or more.
Right.
But I mean, you can understand when people think it's a Conan ripoff, but you got to also understand this is also taken from other material. These are books that they get the source material from, and Conan started as short stories in 1930s. The Beastmaster book was wrote in 1959, so you probably know the writers. I don't know the authors. He probably took a little Conan because you see Dar's journey is a lot similar to Conan's.
Yeah.
A lot of what the thing happens in this movie we'll talk about later. But I don't think it's a blatant ripoff. I mean, shit, you know, Conan punches camels. Beastmaster would be like, "It's okay, bro. Let's talk." You know, So there is a difference there. But
I think both borrow from stories told for a long time. You know,
yes,
like
I mean,
I think
the
the
barbarian
hero's
stories
journey
been
and
around
the barbarian stories, becoming a king, you know, an orphan child, you know, I mean,
yeah,
epic journeys, things like that. I mean, it's not that far removed from those, you know, the Iliad and things like that. I mean, it's so you're gonna cross over. It's the genre, you know.
Right.
So I don't. Yeah, I'm not hung up on that. The Conan thing.
Yeah, and that was, you know,
it's a ripoff.
doing a podcast and trying to find things that you can rib at with the movies that you're watching and make some funny jokes and things. You know, I was kind of coming into it with that nature, but seeing the passion that he had going into this movie, I was like, oh, you know, maybe I shouldn't give him so much shit for all this Conan stuff. Because, I mean, there are scenes in this that are very close to the scenes that happen in Conan the Barbarian, almost down to, like, the lighting, the what happens to characters. So, but you're right, Eric. You bring up, you know, these are coming, you know, these stories are coming from stories that have been told for ages. Conan was probably pulling from the same inspirations as Don Coscarelli was when he was making this. So I've lightened up a little bit on that, but doesn't mean I'm not going to bring up some of those things. I also
and there's plenty to make fun of here. Anyway.
For sure.
Well, there's stuff to make fun of. We can make fun. We made fun of things in the Conan
already did
movie.
for
So,
sure.
These 80s movies, there's always something we can make fun of.
Right. And, you know, I
love 'em.
I saw, I mean, I brought it up in the intro. I saw a lot of Willow in this movie, too. I mean, it's kind of that sort of Lucasfilm, sort of kiddie-style, medieval sword and
Fantasy.
sandal story. And then you've got a little bit of, you know, some more adult-themed stuff going on in there. Like, there are some very creepy images in this movie. I will go ahead and say that. Like, there's some things that happen in Conan that are pretty creepy, but there's a scene in this one that I think kind of gives Conan a run for its money. And we'll talk about it when we start talking about the movie. But they had a lot of creative interference with this. Originally, they based the Beastmaster off of a book called The Beastmaster, but it takes place in the future in a different sort of time, you know, and they were just like, the studio were like, we don't like this book. We'll stick with the Beastmaster character, but we're gonna have to rewrite the whole story because we don't like the story that's going on in this book. So I haven't ever read the book. I don't know. I know Jason hasn't. I'm sure Eric hasn't.
What's a book? What are books? What the fuck are you talking about?
So I don't have anything to compare it to, but that was one of the things they dealt with going into this, and some of the issues with like the animal wranglers in this, and because obviously they had to have animals on set. He's the Beastmaster. He talks to animals. He's got to be able to interact with them. But they had a lot of trouble with that. The original animal handler was fired, and then they got someone else at the last minute. If you've watched this movie, you can kind of blatantly tell that it's not a panther in the movie. It is a tiger that is dyed
Painted
black. It's just a lot of stuff that they.
I didn't even realize he was supposed to be a panther.
Well,
I thought he was just a black tiger.
Black tiger.
Yeah.
They wanted to use. They actually had an animal wrangler set up for panthers to use in the movie, and because of budget reasons, they were like, nope, can't use that guy. We'll get this guy. And he's like, oh, you wanted to use panthers? Well, I can dye the tigers black for you. And they dyed the tigers black on set to film with them.
Now, apparently, there's a big rumor that the tiger ended up dying from the dye. But I guess that's not the case. That is like a hoax story.
There is
as far as I can tell.
There is nothing in the behind-the-scenes info that said that any of the animals were harmed or died or any of that.
Right.
It's probably not something they want to broadcast anyway, but I cannot say whether that's true or false.
In my research, sorry, Jason, I have the floor.
No, go ahead.
I have the floor.
Do it. You can get on the floor.
I'll put you on the floor. We can lay on the floor together.
Oh.
And cuddle.
So
Spoon?
listen, in my research, I found at first these articles are saying like this is an animal rights nightmare. You know, the tiger died, the ferrets were mistreated, all this stuff. And then as I dug a little deeper, it's from some reputable sources saying that there's really no evidence of that, and it's really kind of just a rumor. So who's to say? I don't know. But
yeah, I mean,
I guess
definitely...
there's trained tigers are more available than trained. This brings me to another question. I don't want to derail you, Josh, but it's a question I had. Where is this supposed to take place? Because I read that they wanted to film in Mexico and Spain, or Spain, and they couldn't do it because of the budget, so they filmed in Las Vegas and California. But, you know, you've got this Aztec-looking pyramid, right? We're thinking, is this supposed to be set in Mexico in Central America somewhere? Why is everyone white?
No, there definitely was a lot of budget restrictions.
Hollywood and their whitewash.
Yeah, they actually went to a location in Mexico that had pyramids and stuff on it that they were going to use to film and whatnot. But another one of the creative interference that they had to deal with was they looked at the budget and they were like, nope, Mexico's not going to work. So they had to relocate to Los Angeles. And Los Angeles worked better for them budget-wise because they found a plot of land that was like 115 acres or something like that. They charged them $1,000 a month to use it.
Damn.
They were like, okay, so that cut back on some of the budget for the props and all of the building they had to do. They built every set that whole town, the pyramid, it's all built from the ground up. And,
I read that the pyramid was $52,000. Cost $52,000 to build the pyramid. That was one of my notes immediately was like, this is a real pyramid. Like, did they build this thing? And yeah, they did.
I want to know whoever the engineer was for that, because man, they could have put a little more pitch outward on that, because that damn thing was straight up and down.
Well, you get higher with less mass if you have it steeper, right? So they're probably trying to get as high as they can get. I also read that they had a hard time getting stuntmen that would fall down the thing because it was so steep.
Oh, there's that one guy. I was like, dude,
And
that sucks
yes,
if you're a
that
stuntman.
one guy is mentioned in the article as saying, as mentioned as being like a new stuntman that was willing to do it because no one else was, and he wanted a break. So
No,
Oh, he got a break, all right.
got a
Probably
break,
when he fell.
broken spine.
there's a couple of spots in this movie where you can see where stunt performers got injured in the movie. There's one in particular where a guy is throwing around a baton that's on fire and it hits his arm and you see him stop and put the fire out. Well, yeah,
I didn't see
they're-
that. That's awesome.
I don't think I even paid attention.
I mean,
to that.
terrible. That's
Yeah,
terrible.
if you go back
Horrible.
the raid on Dar's village when they raid his village.
Yeah, yeah.
The guy
There's a lot of. I had a note that, and we're not there yet, but he's sword fighting with dudes that are on fire. Like there's
Yeah.
there's sword fighting and they're on fire, which I thought that was pretty cool.
and
And it's a good
double
way
pay.
to burn yourself, obviously.
Well, yeah, I mean, there may be. I didn't dig into all the stories about stuff that happened on set, but from everything that I saw in the behind the scenes footage, apparently it was a very tight ship when it comes to the stunts and the stunt performers and everything. Mark Singer even talks about that particular scene where they did the raid on his village, where it was like a football game going on. They had people calling like when they needed to do this, when they needed to do that, and they just threw him in the middle of it. They're like, okay, you go now and run in between these guys. And he just kind of had to stay his course and stay in between people. And he said it was a very crazy experience. Mark Singer had a lot of positive things to say about doing this movie. Almost to the point where it's kind of weird. He talks about working with the animals and whatnot, and he seems to have gotten a little like spiritually enlightened working with the animals in this movie. It's just a little strange.
Ain't nothing wrong with that, though.
Does he do like events and stuff for this movie? Like, is he on like the circuit?
I don't know.
'Cause he didn't really do a whole lot other than this movie, right? He did
Right.
the sequel. He did some
No,
television.
We did the same.
He did
and
V.
He did V. That's what other thing I remember because we watched V every week
Yeah.
with my mom when I was a kid. Dude, we love V.
That was the
Yeah, so,
that
I
was the
mean-
biggest thing that I noticed this guy from was V. But yeah, I mean it was a crazy
for
production,
Vendetta?
man. V for Vendetta.
Batman
one-
v Superman.
Another interesting thing about this movie is the cinematographer, John Alcott.
That's who I was going to bring up because of the box right to your right or
Yeah.
left, whatever it is.
Notorious for being Stanley Kubrick's cinematographer, and he was, I believe, living in
Wow.
Canada at the time, and they were, Don Coscarelli is a huge Kubrick fan, and they were like, well, we'll approach him, and they asked him. He moved from Canada to L.A. to start a new life in the States. And apparently, again, some more of the creative issues that they had, they were going to fire Don Coscarelli because they didn't think he was a good director. And John Alcott stepped up and defended him. He said, if you fire him, I'm out too.
Wow.
Wow.
So that was pretty crazy. And the fact, I mean, I need to go back and watch some of Kubrick's earlier work and see if I can compare cinematography to this and like Barry Lyndon and whatnot. Because
Right.
he's just coming off of doing, I think, The Shining after this. So, but another thing I found, I mean, we talked about the animals and the problems with that. The kid who plays the king's son could not be on set the same time as any of the big animals. And, the original story, they had the kid having these adventures with the Beastmaster, and all of these animals were going to be involved and whatnot. And they told him, nope, you can't have the kid on set the same day as the animals. So that caused a big problem with the story and production. But again,
I
to
have an
hear-
additional. Hold on. I have an additional note on the kid with the animals thing. Da, 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 da. Yes. So they were allowed exceptions for having the kid by the tiger, as long as we. This is the Pepperman, the writer, one of the writers.
Yeah.
He says, as long as we had a plexiglass wall between him and the tiger chained down to a 5-foot chain, and a marksman with a 30-06 rifle on the set at all times.
Yep.
Oh.
So
that's
what they ended up
actually-
doing, what they ended up doing was they put an extra in a wig, like an adult extra, which is the same size as the kid, just as in danger as the kid is, but whatever.
Yeah.
And the other thing I just want to bring up as far as production goes, then we'll move into our next segment, is the sword. I don't find anything particularly stands out about this sword, but the sword was specifically made for this movie. I don't think this sword holds a candle to Conan's sword by any means.
No, it's not up there with the Conan sword at all. No.
But it was specifically
And it's not treated
made...
as such in the film either.
Oh,
like,
no.
it's not treated with reverence, other than it's his father's.
I really think the caber is treated more with more upfront than the sword is. The caber, the thing that he throws.
Yeah.
I think that's more upfront than the sword is.
But Mark Singer kind of had an attachment to that sword. It was made for the movie by a knife maker who was apparently like crazy. He just like loved to fight people, was always drunk, but he made his son does an interview in the behind the scenes, and he's like, he made the best stuff he has ever made when he was just shit-faced drunk.
I like it.
My God.
I like it. My kind of guy.
But there was
Like the
apparently
drunken master.
There was apparently
Bam!
an invisible handshake that went on with Mark Singer and whoever the powers that be are with the sword. He got to train with it. He got to shoot with it. And at the end of the shoot, he was supposed to be able to take that sword home. It was going to be his gift or whatever that he got to keep from the movie. The last day of shooting, they were like, we need this sword for some still photography or whatever. They took the sword and he never saw it again.
Yeah, the writers
Fucking assholes
said the same thing, that it went missing and no one knew where, and they still would offer to this day offer a reward to get it back. So
I don't think it has been found at all to this day, and that's crazy.
Hey, if you're watching this episode and you have seen the sword from Beastmaster, please contact so and so right here and make sure it goes back to its rightful owner.
What's that shiny thing behind you, Jason? I think I see something back there.
Shut up! You'll see nothing.
All right. Well, I've got a few more things about the production I'll mention as we go through talking about the movie, but for now, that's going to do it for our Back in Time segment. We're moving forward. All right. The first thing I want to mention as far as Beastmaster goes is the score that kicks in at the beginning of this bad boy. Did anybody get some faint little nods of Jurassic Park? Because, boy, I did.
I don't remember it.
There's a specific cue. I don't know if it's horns or what, but there's one particular part where I was like, that sounds just like Jurassic Park. So now I'm like questioning my entire reality. Like, John Williams, did you rip off somebody? The guy who did Beastmaster?
You never know.
You're not even going to give him credit? The guy that did the music? Whoever it was?
I didn't even write down who did the music.
Well, since you're talking about the music, dude, the actual Beastmaster theme that plays a lot with dude, I remember like humming that all the time because I was watching this movie all the time.
Right.
Anytime I could hear that from across the house, like, somebody turn on HBO. Hey, Beastmaster's on. I heard the Beastmaster music. No, wait. One thing before you get into the music. You're getting to the music. Let's talk about the fucking title card that's straight out of like 1980s ABC after school special.
Yeah.
Of the face, and it says the Beastmaster.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
There's something to be desired with that font that they use. Like, Eric, as a graphic designer, I had to ask you, like, what do you think of the font they use in this opening title sequence?
I'm pulling it up because I can't remember what it looks like. I'm sorry.
Well, dude, just the fact that it's not like animated or anything. I mean, dude, the guy did Phantasm, and that looks way better than this.
No, I kind of like it, honestly.
Leave it up to Eric. This is fuck you and Josh.
I'm just being honest. I'm not trying to. I'm just. It looks. It's cool. I like it. You got the roaring tiger behind it.
I don't know, man.
It's got sort of a weird. The weird thing about it is it's got kind of like a it almost feels like it has some kind of like Asian influence or something. Like,
yeah,
obviously
I can see that.
but like the M is like a weird thing. But but this is supposed to be, again, we're not really anywhere real, are we? We're in some land. So we got a hodgepodge of influence coming from everywhere. But it's weird with the tiger. Maybe the tiger is throwing me.
Yeah, that's throwing me way off.
Well, you've brought this up earlier, and it's like, I don't think this is supposed to be set in any particular, like, this may not even be
country.
Earth. Like, this could be, like, this could be a completely different planet somewhere. This could be like a John Carter sort of scenario. I mean,
yeah. I like that you had a hard time recalling John Carter, because I always do, too. I'm like, what's that called? It's like the most basic name.
I've never even seen that movie, so I know nothing
I
about it.
have not seen that dumpster fire of a movie that everybody talks about, so I'm not watching it.
But, moving into this movie, like, I'm glad that you said the ABC special, because that's exactly what I got the vibe for. And I couldn't place it. I couldn't place it when I was watching it, but yeah, it definitely reminds me of an after-school special a little bit. But as we open and then we get into this movie, like, it starts off super dark and creepy. You've got these three witches that look like they're going to be some eye candy as you approach them. I mean, their butts are hanging out.
From the neck down. Neck down!
But then, you cut to that, I don't know, well or whatever it is they're looking in with their little sorcery. And
I thought it was like a cauldron, like a witch's cauldron.
Yeah, they call that a witch's cauldron, Josh.
Okay.
You might want to look that up in the witch movies and anything to do with witches from Halloween. It's called a cauldron.
I'll make a mental note of that. But
laying it on thick, Jason.
I do love the fake out for anybody who's watching this thinking they're about to get a bunch of eye candy and some hot women, and then all of a sudden these ladies don't look so great in the face.
Yeah!
I disagree. I thought they looked great. It's kind of rude, I think, but.
And then we get the introduction of Mayax. Mayax walks into the room. And this is where, Eric, go ahead. I mean, I know you're thinking it too. We're getting some Willow vibes right off of the bat in this movie. We're going to sacrifice babies to
right.
To take...
You've got a prophecy.
Yep.
You've got a prophecy. A baby is going to kill you, or is he kill Mayax, defeat Mayax? I forget. But you got a baby. So what's the natural thing to do? You kill everybody, and this is biblical, right?
Yeah, but say that's the Moses story, man.
I mean, yeah. So again, we're drawing from lots of old stories here, not just Conan.
Okay. Well, we're talking about this. I want to bring up Mayax. You first introduced to Rip Torn, which we all love Rip Torn from many of the movies he's done and Men in Black. But he walks in there with an ominous nose piece. We're going to talk about some of my bad right here. That nose. But he is the long-lost brother of Spock. Live long and sacrifice babies. Because those eyebrows are way the fuck up here. And I'm like, dude, the makeup guy went, oh, dude, we're running out of budget. Give him Vulcan eyebrows. We're good. Nose piece. He's done.
I'll go ahead and let you know right now. Rip Torn came in and requested the nose. He wanted to look like a turkey vulture, quote unquote.
Dude, that's it. Yep. That's it. I was going Toucan Sam. Fucking Fruit Loops, some shit like that.
Yeah, that nose is terrible. I cannot believe. I don't care if Rip Torn comes in and says, I want a big old hook nose. No, it looks bad.
And Don Casarelli said that this was the bane of his existence in this movie, because they had to make it out of wax, and there's a lot of fire going on in this movie around him at most points in time. He said,
and you're shooting in Las Vegas and
yeah,
out in the sun.
So he said the nose was constantly pulling apart from his face. He said if you look at certain scenes, you can absolutely see where the nose is coming loose. It was melting. Like he said, this nose was just nothing but problems. But Rip Torn apparently has a reputation for being hard to work with in Hollywood. There was a lot of buzz around the set when they were like, when Rip Torn would come on set to work, everybody'd be like, oh shit, Rip Torn's here. But Don Casarelli and the producer said that he was the most magnificent guy. He was so much fun. They became friends with him. They were friends with him long after this movie. They would go play golf together and whatnot. He would make crazy demands and shit on set, but as far as him as a person, they said he was a great guy. But there was always like these grumblings and like how he was so hard to work with, and everybody was afraid to work with him on set.
Well, he made friends with the director and stuff like that. Who knows how the underlings were treated? But he's the only notable the underlings. He's the only notable name in this movie at this point, right?
Right. I mean, Mark Singer was pretty much a nobody. They saw Mark Singer in like a production of a Shakespeare play or something, and that's when Don Coscarelli was like, "Oh, he's got the physique. He can play the part. He can do the lines." Why the lines were important, I don't know, because the dialogue in this movie leaves a lot to be desired.
Whoa, lines of dialogue. Back that shit up. Yeah,
There's a lot that's really, really creepy about the opening of this movie. Even though, like, I'm feeling like it's a lot lower budget than what I'm used to seeing in like Conan and whatnot. But and I'm sure in the 80s and on regular television, CRT going on, all that stuff, this stuff probably looked, great. You didn't have any. This is another one of those movies where HD is not kind to it, because you can see every little flaw, every little spot where they applied makeup. And that's one of the issues I have with The Witches, is you can kind of see the skin peeling away from the face and a lot of it and whatnot.
Well, that's unfair. You know what I mean? And I know you know that, but we've said it many times. But yeah, that's when the cinematography becomes more important than like the detail of the special effects. So like when you're looking at like an old tube TV, as long as your lighting is good, everything's going to look great. And then now in HD, I mean, all the miniature stuff looks so small. Like it. We see a lot of miniature stuff in the movies we watch, and this is one of the worst.
Yes,
I think it's just the lens. Like they weren't shooting in any kind of like short depth of field tilt shift kind of thing. It was just like straight on filming, and when you see it in HD, it's like, oh, this looks like a G.I. Joe playset.
And you had what's his name? The cinematographer. This worked with Stanley Kubrick, and he's helping shoot this. And I'm like, he's probably like, dude, what the fuck is this shit? Yeah, hey, I'm sticking up for you. They want to fire you. Let's do something about the set design over here with these miniatures.
I mean, they did the best they could with what they had, and but there's that shot where Dar is walking up to the town, and it's obvious he's walking next to a miniature, and the camera just sort of pans over and you can look at it. That was the first thing I noticed in that scene. But
anything
again,
from over the top, looking over the town, just anytime you see it, they do it several times. You know it's a miniature. It looks like it's this big.
Yeah. But as far as like the cinematography and everything goes, I still think that looks great, and it's not because I'm a sucker for Kubrick stuff and the fact that John Alcott shot this. Like, they talk a lot about how his way of lighting things, and as you watch this movie, a lot of this movie is dark, and that's because he shoots with like absence of light as opposed to using a lot of light. They tell a particular story how when he came in one day and had like a suitcase full of different sized flashlights, and he took like a paper cup that somebody was drinking their coffee out of, put a pinhole in it, and shined a flashlight into it. And it went right into Mark Singer's eye, so they could give him like this look of his eye twinkling as he walked down a hallway. And I was wow. Like, and everybody was just blown away by the way he lit that shit. So you've got someone who's very competent behind the camera. I just think, again, HD is not serving this movie very kindly nowadays.
Not with the practical effects from '82. Yeah, it's just
no.
Not.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, we're going from this to the like the whole thing with the baby thing, where they tell you have to steal his unborn child. Now, I kind of like this thing with the witch shows up with the cow. I mean, as a kid, I'm like, what the fuck's up with the cow? And then you see the pregnant lady, she puts her hand on her, and they put this stuff across her neck. I guess it keeps them from moving.
Right.
Yeah.
And transferring the baby from the woman's womb to the cow, I was like, that's actually kind of creepy as a kid.
It is.
Like,
that is gnarly.
Fuck!
You see her stomach go down, the cow's stomach get bigger, and that I guess that's just like like a glow stick juice.
Yeah.
Just put
Dude,
that
as soon as I saw that, I'm like, man, I didn't know they had glow sticks in 1982.
And it's a cool idea, and it's a great fantasy concept of pouring some kind of thing on their throat. It keeps them paralyzed. They can't scream. Like they're just stuck, and then they just have to witness their baby being stolen.
Yeah,
it's kind of cool. It's
in a really
effective.
Really fucking bonkers way, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And and this is how oblivious I was when I watched it the first time, even the second time. It wasn't until I watched the behind the scenes and they started explaining how they were doing the scene. It's like, oh, that's why he can talk to animals, because he was transferred from his mom to an animal. I was like,
Animal.
Josh, you're a fucking dumbass. Like, why didn't you put that together?
Dude, I put that together as a kid. What
I,
the hell? He was born from an animal.
I was completely fucking oblivious until they said it in the behind the scenes stuff, and I was like, oh shit, I'm a fucking idiot.
What they didn't tell you is Dar has 7 stomachs and he chooses cud, you know, like a cow, and he actually doesn't eat meat because his mom was a cow. So, yeah.
He does eat meat in the movie.
Yeah, he does.
Doesn't he?
Yeah.
He does.
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. But, dude, that transference was pretty cool. I mean, even on her stomach, dude, I totally got Exorcist vibes. I was waiting for Help Me to pop up on her stomach. like Linda Blair in The Exorcist, because that looked like her stomach from The Exorcist. I was like, that's pretty funny. But dude, then we get the witch scene out in the forest. That's just like I said, I'm watching this movie as a 6 or 7 year old kid.
Yeah,
and I'm like, dude, we're gonna kill a baby, and the witches look. I mean, yeah, they got the just prosthetics basically hanging off of their face. It looks horrible for now, but I mean, as a kid, it was kind of creepy. And then the whole thing with killing babies.
No, they're creepy.
Even though it's kind of peeling off their face, it still lends to the idea that they've just got this like gross skin hanging off their face. Like it kind of plays into it a little bit. It's just us being older and knowing what we know about makeup now. It's easy to spot that shit. But as a kid,
they're effectively creepy for sure. There's a lot of legitimately creepy imagery in this movie.
And we're not even to the creepiest scene yet. I mean, we're getting there. But
yeah, that dude, he cut open the cow, pulled out a baby. I keep forgetting Dar's stepdad name.
I didn't even write it down.
I didn't either.
I totally forgot.
Dar's stepdad.
Yeah,
you're not my dad.
You can't tell me what to do. But he shows up with the caber. Which is
the caber.
Dude, I remember as a kid, I was like, dude, I want one of those. It's like a boomerang that's badass.
Oh, he's not even named in the movie. It just says Dar's father.
Wow.
So he has no name.
Bam. Bam, right there.
It's like the glaive from Krull, right?
Yep, exactly.
What year did Krull come out?
85, I think.
83. Oh! So it predates the glaive. It's also kind of like the... I was going to say it kind of reminds me of Tron.
The boomerang from Road Warrior?
Road Warrior. Any boomerang in any movie. It's basically a boomerang. I wanted more caber. They made the caber a big deal, and then it kind of gets forgotten for the second half of the movie, and then it comes back as a gift at the end. But I wanted him to win the day with the caber. They put too much on the sword. Caber is where it's at. I'm a caber guy.
I'm a caber guy. Caber guy. This whole fight between the witch and the stepdad is just like very lackluster. Like watching it now, it's very much like, oh, they did not do a whole lot of training for this. This was just something they had to throw together real quick. They
just say now fight and action.
Yeah.
You two fight and action.
Dude, that lady sounds just like the Wicked Witch of the West.
Yeah.
Fucking Wizard of Oz. Your one child is on. And she even laughs like that. And I was just like, dude, really? That's like, just pour water on her. She'd go away. It's no problem. But then we jump up to young Dar.
Did you recognize this kid?
Oh, I did immediately.
Just one of the guys.
Just one of the guys, the brother.
Yep.
And he was in a lot of 80s movies as a teenager like that. He did a lot. I think he was like My Teacher is an Alien or some Sex Alien or something. He was in that too, I think.
Huh.
Yeah, he was in a bunch of little parts in 80s like B movies.
Yeah, I mean this is where he gives him the what's it called again? I want to call it the glaive.
Caber.
It's the caber.
The caber.
Caber.
Gives him the caber.
Not to be confused with capers.
Capers.
It's the caber.
And then we get this introduction of this giant grizzly bear. Now, they apparently like just let this thing loose on set one day and it injured somebody.
And he attacked one of the animal handlers right in front of me. They managed to get the bear back under control, dragged the animal handler off between two people, and they said, "Mark, we're ready for you now."
The eagle actually did some damage to Mark Singer as well.
I mean, he's basically naked trying to catch a bird of prey.
But I mean, this is the scene where we finally see that he has this connection with the animals. He can sense that there's a bear there. He's like, you know, he senses there's danger in the bushes. He tells his dad not to go there, and then we get that scene where it pulls it in, which is pretty comical. But I was like, oh shit,
That
he's
guy
a
gets
warg.
wrecked.
I was like, oh shit, Dar's a warg. He's warging. We got some Game of Thrones shit going on here.
Oh shit, he's warging.
Which
boy.
this is not going to be the only time I bring up Game of Thrones.
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
Oh, I might know where you're going with that too.
Yeah. But, you know, it's all interesting. We find out he's got this relation to the animals, and his dad doesn't want anybody to know about it. He's like, you can't tell anyone in the village, and manages to keep that shit a secret for like 18 years. It's pretty
That's
crazy.
Pretty good. And considering when he shows up to the village, he's like, "Look, I found the baby right here. Look at me, daddy, I found the baby." I mean, it's like they were waiting for him because I guess he's a hunter warrior. They're probably waiting for him to bring like back a deer or something or whatever to eat, and he's like, "I got a baby." I'm like, we can't eat the fucking baby. What the fuck are we gonna do with a baby? It's somebody else to feed.
I mean, you could eat it.
Yeah, I mean, Eric and I talked about eating the baby a little bit on the Yellow Jackets episode. You can go back and check that out.
Yeah, eat the baby. But all right, this is another part where we talk, about bad, dude. Dar's up on the hill. His dog that and I can't remember the dog's name.
Kodo.
It's all Kodo and Podo.
No, he names
Dog
the
is
fucking
Toto.
It's Toto.
Dog is Toto.
Toto.
Another Oz reference.
Toto,
Another Oz
Kodo,
reference.
and Poto. This guy has
Yes.
some bad naming ability.
Yeah, it's. I thought it was Toto, but I wasn't for sure. But
It's
up on the hill-
T-O-D-O rather than T-O-T-T
Yeah.
or T-O-T-O, but yes, it's
Oh,
slight
TT?
spelling change.
But
T-O-T-O.
But we're talking about some of the bad stuff about this movie is when he's up on there and we see the Junhor dust cloud. I don't know what your dust cloud looked like. I watched it on Prime and I'm like, did somebody just rub their finger on the screen and they forgot to clean the smudge off? Because that's what it looks like. It's
a pretty terrible composite shot for sure.
Wow.
And you may think, they're out in the desert. They're in Los Angeles, Las Vegas, whatever, filming this shit in the desert. It was January while they were filming this stuff. All the crew was in parkas, and everybody else that was in front of the camera was in these like loincloths and stuff. People were freezing. Oh, wow. They had takes that they could not use because people were shivering so badly. It was apparently really, really cold while they were doing most of the filming of this. Even the scene where we find out where we meet Kiri, she had to get in that water and it was like 30 degrees. It was rough.
Yeah. Yeah. Apparently, I read that if you look at her face while they shoot that scene, she looks miserable, even though she's supposed to just be bathing and being comfortable.
Yeah.
She has like a grimace on her face because she's so
I wasn't looking at the grimace on her face.
Well, if you notice when she goes in the water, she kind of turns herself around. You can't really see her face after she gets in the water, and that's probably wise because she had such a exclamation when she was getting in that cold ass water.
She probably turned around and went, "Fuck, it's cold." But all right, come on, all right. We're talked about a couple movies we just mentioned. We get the Jun Horde is coming.
Yes.
This guy shows up with the fucking black mask with the fucking elk ears on it or whatever. Dude, I wrote down it's the Lord Humongous from Road Warrior meets the Thulsa Doom Squad.
Yeah,
I was gonna say Kale. I was gonna say Kale too. Maybe like a Kale.
I wrote Kale and Thulsa Doom. Yeah, it's a mashup of all of that. Now, Jason, I wanted to ask you: Do you think Mushroom Head drew any inspiration from some of the mask in this movie?
Dude, you watch anything in this movie, and it's either a Mushroom Head or a Bandit. We put Genitortures with some S&M gear.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that going on. It's like, hey, we need some costumes. Oh, go down to the local sex porn shop down there. Dude, go in the back room. They got great outfits for everybody to wear. We need some leather for freaking John Amos to wear. Freaking the dad from freaking Good Times. I bet you he was loving it. So, yeah, dude. But yeah, when they showed up, I mean, Mushroom Head, yeah, definitely top. But yeah, all I thought was Lord Humongous from Road Warrior when he pulled up with the Jason hockey mask on.
Yeah.
And then, Thulsa Doom and you guys, what you said, but it's totally, and what it is, like you said, there's only 3 months that separate Conan and Beastmaster, so they didn't like rip it off. It's just, and these books were written so far apart, but there are so many similarities, even though, did they have somebody from the Beastmaster crew run over to watch them making the Conan movie, take some pictures, come back?
If I may, think of
You may.
think of like fantasy comics, fantasy book covers, like.
Oh yeah.
Like a lot of this imagery is just from the genre.
Shared.
Yeah.
It's
crazy helmets,
So close. Yeah.
big scary looking helmets on the leader and that kind of stuff. Like,
well, the comparisons to Conan are one thing, but Don Coscarelli also has to kind of realize, like, because Conan was being made is sort of what lent to getting this movie made, because there was all of this talk in Hollywood about how John Milius was directing Conan, Arnold Schwarzenegger was going to be in it. So the reason this movie got picked up is because people were jumping on that train because Conan was about to come out. So even though he kind of has a chip on his shoulder about it, like, Conan's probably the reason this movie got made. So it's as hard as that is to take for some people, I guess. But
yeah, and Hollywood is a copycat place. Anytime you see a movie come out, let's do a movie about volcanoes. Okay, let's make fucking Volcano and Dante's Peak. Oh, let's do a movie about asteroids. Let's do Armageddon and fucking Deep Impact. Hollywood's been doing it for many years, and that's the same thing right here. Conan Beastmaster.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
It's present to this day. You got 47 meters down in the shallows. Like, they're still doing it to this day.
I like a moment in this attack scene when Dar blocks an arrow with a shield and then turns the shield around to stab a dude with the arrowhead, because the arrow's gone through, and he turns it around.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
And then he shoves the arrow through it after he gets him on the ground to make sure he's dead.
Yeah, extra.
Yeah, but the one thing I want to talk. Well, hold on, Josh. Sorry, I want to talk about the one thing you're talking about where the Jun are freaking raging in. Dar's stepdad's up there, Mr. Dun 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 dun, doing his Conan thing with the fucking sword, draws a line in the dirt, and fucking horses just run right over his ass. Boom!
It's true.
You're done.
It's true.
You're done. It's over.
They didn't give him even one. He didn't take out even one grunt. Nothing. Just immediately mowed down like a child.
But
and then we're supposed to think this sword. But see, that's the thing. We're supposed to think this sword is amazing, like his dad's sword or whatever. But it didn't work for his dad. I don't know.
Yeah, they didn't give us any context for that sword. It's just that he takes his father's sword and that's what he's going to use. But fuck the what are they called? The Huns, the Juns?
The Jun Horde.
Fuck the Jun Horde, because they killed Toto, and fuck those guys. Like, I knew it was coming, but the moment that arrow hits that dog, I was like, God. Even the second time I watched it, I was like, fuck. I hate that shit,
dude.
So how did they get this dog to lay? Did they just train a dog to go limp?
I was
Is that a dog
wondering
trick?
that. Because, like,
I actually Googled it because I'm like, did they sedate this dog? Because he looks like completely,
like
that would be my only explanation, is they had to have put it under for something and have him carry it, because I don't think a dog could naturally just be limp like that. Like,
I don't know, man. Maybe someone in the comments knows. They can tell us if dogs can go limp like that.
Yeah,
like
if you're an animal wrangler and you work with animals in Hollywood, let us know. Let us know in the comments below.
But bringing up the dog saving his ass, the dog saving Dar's ass. Dude,
hell yeah!
I watched it this
He's a
time,
hero.
and like I said, how many times have I ever seen this fucking movie? And I noticed it like a couple of watches ago. You could totally see the thing that's under Dar with the rope being pulled off screen and pulling him. And I was just like, wow, that's really bad. Because like you said, we're watching things in HD now.
Yeah.
And you can totally see them, somebody off screen probably going, yeah, come here, Dart. You're on my little cart.
There's a particular moment where you see the dog pulling and he stops, but he keeps moving. Like, it's pretty obvious. There is a particular shot that is really cool here, though, and it's when Maax rides up and you can see Dar laying on the ground. It sort of it tilts from
His
looking
hand.
at Mayax, and it pans down to his hand, showing the mark, and Mayax being completely oblivious to who he's looking at. I think that's a really cool shot.
That's, I mean, as like you said, he's right there.
Yeah.
Basically, the chosen child that's going to kill Mayax is right there throughout the whole thing. Like,
Almost
the
had
kid's
him.
right there.
Almost had
All you
him.
had to do was check the bodies for a hand, check the bodies for a mark. That's all you had to do, and the movie would have been over, and no Beastmaster.
But it's been what, 20 years? I mean, he may, he had to have.
He
given
should be
up the
looking
look
for a
by
20-year-old
now.
man.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. But he's
Why
still-
is he even killing kids? He
Yeah,
should be
he's-
killing
he's
20-year-olds.
Still looking for kids and sacrificing kids.
Whoa, wait a minute. I just realized this guy does not know math. Mayax,
No.
because they said, they were specific, right? They knew the baby, it was that guy's baby, right? Or did she say it was just any old baby, the witch?
No,
No,
because they marked his hand.
They
She
said it
took
was
the
Zed's
out of
baby,
the
right?
cow
Yeah.
Yeah.
and marked the baby's hand. So the baby.
So why are
had
they
the
still
mark,
killing
which is Dar.
kids? This is stupid. Mayax is an idiot. This guy's
Because,
stupid.
I don't know. Maybe fucking kids, trampled his grass in the yard. He wouldn't get out of his yard. Killed his grass. I don't know. Some stupid shit like that. Maybe he just fucking hates kids.
They didn't know how to play dodgeball
definitely hates
correctly, so he sacrificed them.
If you can't dodge a fire pit, you can't dodge a ball. But dude,
Can't
hey,
dodge a
we're talk-
caber.
Can't dodge a caper. But we're talking about the director here. Like you said, he was famous for Phantasm, going back to Mayax's character. Dude, he did Phantasm, and he started making all these movies with Angus Scrimm, which we know is a tall man. Dude, he could have played Mayax's character awesome.
True.
He would have been fucking scary as shit if they would have cast Angus Scrimm as Mayax. Dude, it would have been awesome because that guy's so fucking tall. You imagine him picking up a kid above a fire. Kid's gonna be like 7 feet in the air. So
See,
but
my
I
issue-
kept
my
thinking
issue-
about it.
One thing that bothers me here is that you've got this horde and you've got this, to me, for what's this goddamn Dar? For Dar, he's after the horde, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and then they disappear, and all of a sudden, Mayax is our big bad, but like, I don't know.
Well,
the horde is gone for too long. I need this bat-winged helmet guy, Lord Humongous guy, in the movie more.
We'll get into more of this at the end of the movie, but at the beginning, they set this stuff up with what's his the king's name? King Zed.
Zed.
King Zed
Zed's dead.
tells Zed's dead, baby. Zed's dead.
I should have saved that joke for later.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. No. Isn't that Rip Torn's character in Men in Black, Zed?
I don't know. I haven't seen Men in Black very
I
much.
think his name is Zed or Z
It is
or whatever
Zed,
in
yeah.
Men in Black. I think
It
it's
is Zed. Wow. Okay.
Okay, sorry. I just we're like, whoa.
No, you're right. Yeah. We got lots of things crossing over right now.
7 degrees of Rip Torn.
Yeah.
King Zed tells Mayax that he needs to go practice his shit somewhere and go join the
Jun Horde.
The Jun Horde. So that's why he appears with them there. But he's also overtaken the king and the kingdom, so he's running that now. So the Horde is just kind of his army that he sends out to these different places.
Yeah.
So Dar is looking for the Jun Horde when he starts his journey, but it's because he meets Kiri and she is attached to Mayax, and that's how they both kind of blend together. So he starts going on his journey to defeat him, and then the Jun Horde kind of becomes this added bonus that he gets.
Well, you're right, and he basically takes a tangent off of his main quest, a side quest, if you will. He takes a side quest to go help get her, and then on top of that to go save Zed.
Right.
Not realizing how connected to it to all of it he is, but this movie's a little long. I know they're always this long, so that's kind of part of the genre. But I found myself going okay, it feels a little directionless around the middle. Now he wants to go find this girl mainly because he's just hot for her. Like he's like, I want to avenge my father and my village that just got completely wrecked, but like literally everyone he knows is dead. But this is a theme in this movie of Dar processing things pretty quickly and not really caring about like what's important. But pretty much all he wants this whole movie is Kiri. Once he sees her, that drives every bit of his motivation after that.
Well, I mean,
it drive my motivation. It's Tanya Roberts.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but it's like you have this, you know, your life's goal at this point is revenge. You want to take out these guys, and now you're on this like huge. We spend an hour like tracking down Kiri.
and the thing is it runs deeper than he even knows, because he's going to avenge his stepfather. He doesn't even know that he's the unborn child of King Zed, so there's all of that he has no idea about. It's
right, exactly.
Nuts.
He's only doing it to get with Kiri at this point. Once he sees her.
But
brown cow.
But the reason he sees her is because he meets two little furry friends in the forest that save him from some quicksand. Now, we brought this up in one of our episodes about
quicksand.
We thought quicksand was going to be a lot bigger of a problem in life, and apparently this movie is a lot of people's reason for that.
Dude, now that you say that, as a kid, you know, seeing this whole quicksand moment and then Kodo and Podo helping him out after they tried to steal his shit. Dude, I'm not kidding you. My whole life is like, God, is quicksand everywhere? Because you've seen it in TV shows before this. It's like every movie's got quicksand. I think it was even in James Bond movies at some point in time. It got quicksand. Yeah. Quicksand's everywhere. And I live in a place that's got sand and dirt. And I'm like, if I go walking through the woods, am I going to fall in some fucking quicksand?
Yeah.
And I realized, no. It don't happen
no,
everywhere.
It's really not a problem.
Not a problem. Thank you, Beastmaster. Fuck you.
You're more likely to get stuck in mud, which I have been stuck in before in my life. I got in a little trench of water at like a lake where the water had subsided, and I went walking in the muddy area, and my shoes got stuck. And like I was stuck there for a good 10-15 minutes, like trying to figure out how I was gonna get. I had to slip out of my shoes, leave my shoes stuck in the mud, and like crawl out of that bitch.
Damn.
And then the next morning when I had to go to school, I had to go back over to the lake and fish my shoes out so I could wear them to school.
You wore your wet, muddy shoes to school?
That's the only pair of shoes I had.
Jeez.
Dude, man, that's as a kid, that's a badge of honor. Dude, I had to fish my fucking shoes out of the mud to come to school.
Hey, you know, Monday at lunchtime, he was like, I almost died in quicksand.
Yes!
I barely escaped.
I would not have said it was mud. You should have said quicksand, Josh.
I was on an adventure and I got stuck in quicksand.
Yeah.
And there were no fucking ferrets to save my ass anywhere. Dude, all right. Speaking of the quicksand and how did it... No, this movie right here has made me want a ferret my whole life, and I've never owned one. Because of this fucking movie, it's like, dude, I want a fucking ferret.
Apparently, a lot of people ended up with ferrets after this movie. They talk about that in behind the scenes. I had a friend in middle school who had a ferret, and I thought it was cool as fuck, but they don't smell very good.
Well, you got to have them debust and stuff like that. I worked with a guy at Circus City who had 2 of them. But he showed me that, I mean, we'd go over and check it, and his didn't stink, but he took very good care of them. It's like a lot of care to make sure that they don't stink and keep their cages clean and stuff like that. But dude, I wanted a Kodo and Podo so bad for years. I was like, Mom, I don't want a dog or a cat. I want a fucking ferret.
Sure. That's that Disney influence got you.
Yep.
Yes. I mean, because if I fell in quicksand, I want them to come and fucking rescue me.
Yeah. They need to chew through a 3-inch branch in a matter of seconds.
They didn't realize they had teeth like a beaver. So they just cut through it. But dude, that part when he falls in there and they rescue him, dude, he just lets him fall and sink into the damn quicksand. I mean, he saves him, but you're like, watching this as a kid, I'm like, no! He just saved you! Just rescue him, you know?
You had a little bit of like reminiscence of Artax going on right there with the ferret. It's like, no!
Yep. I was thinking this is probably some questionable animal work here. This ferret, like in whatever like oatmeal they have, so you get like he's literally dunked in the stuff and he has to pull them out.
You're correct there. It was oatmeal that they used for the quicksand.
Whoa! There
Nailed
you
it.
Go. Bonus for Eric.
bonus. I'm just going to jot that down. Little bonus for myself. Give myself a bonus. I also want to mention, this is like just a little note, but you know the scene I actually I put it on my story on Instagram, where he's running through the river and he's swinging his sword around.
Yeah, yeah.
That river is the same river from the helicopter accident from the Twilight Zone movie.
No shit.
Whoa!
Yeah, that's the same river.
That's famous. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Big time.
So that was
Yeah, that's great.
an interesting note.
I'll tell you what, Dar loves to fucking swing that sword around, man. He is just
Sword
going nuts
montage,
swinging that damn sword.
Yep.
dude.
Yeah.
When he gets out of there, dude, him running around with that dude, it was like I've seen it so many times. I started hitting fast forward. Okay, sword montage. Damn, we're still doing sword montage. Okay, here we go. We're the rest of the movie.
And apparently, when the sword was made, the tip of the sword was so fine of a point. When he was swinging it around at one point, he poked himself in the leg with it, and he said it didn't even bleed, but he poked himself like he had a bruise,
like a puncture
and shit.
wound.
Yeah, and they had to file the tip of the sword down so it didn't hurt anybody else.
Dumbass. You'll poke your eye out.
It's that crazy sword maker guy. You know, what do you
Yeah.
expect?
He put some bad juju on
He's
it.
not making a fake sword. That shit's gonna be real. He's crazy.
Dude, all right, let's get to where he saves Rue. There's some good parts of this movie, but I'm bringing up so many bad parts of it. Not only that we have dialogue issues up to this point, and the dialogue issues carry on, but here he shows up, and these guys we meet Rue the tiger, aka the Panthro. It's not
Yeah.
really a panther.
I wrote cringer down on my notes.
Oh, there you go. But we're talking about, like the dialogue. It literally, a lot of times, it literally looks like they're talking. Somebody holds up a cue card at the camera, read line. That's how a lot of the dialogue feels to me. But even the fighting sequences, he's sitting there fighting these guys, and they're literally at one point, I got it in my notes, the guy Dar is trying to cut this guy, and the guy that's over here behind him literally holds his sword up like this and stands there waiting for Dar to cut him. And then he cuts it and he's like, "Oh, I'm dead." And I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
He just literally stood there. I mean, he couldn't do it like right before, let me look a little more fluid. No, it's like, okay, I'm going to stand here until he cuts me, and then I fall down. Okay. Oh, I'm dead.
Yeah,
But it was bad.
I've in doing some of the clips and whatnot, and like going back over footage for some of these movies, it's pretty funny to see how when there's like fight choreography, you kind of, the more you watch scenes, you really start to figure out like who was like waiting for their cue to move into a spot and whatnot. And yeah, this one definitely has some bad moments where people are just waiting for their cue to get killed. So I wanted to ask you, Jason, as someone who's not a fan of the Masters of the Universe movie, do you think Dar would have been a better He-Man? Because that's all I see once he's got all of his shit. He's got his sword. He's got that cross section of stuff over his chest. He's got the loincloth. He's got his tiger. I'm like, that was like the perfect depiction of He-Man that they never used.
Dude, even as a kid, that's what I think I put it together, is that to me, he reminded me of, Prince Adam and He-Man. And he's got his tiger, and he's got all of his help and everything like that. And it does right. And to me, this makes a better He-Man movie than the Dolph Lundgren movie. I don't care what you think, Josh. But that shit's fucking horrible. I mean, even Mayax makes somewhat of a better Skeletor, even though I really don't have a problem with Skeletor in the Masters Universe movie.
No, he's cool in that movie. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like it. But still, altogether, this thing makes a better He-Man movie than that one.
Question. I have not seen the second one, the sequel, but does he not come to the present? The poster has a sports car on it. So I think it'd be interesting to compare that one to Superman, because it's like fish out of water coming into the, modern day.
I'll be honest with you. I didn't even know there was a sequel until you just said that.
They made 3.
There's 3 of these movies.
And they made a TV show. There was a TV show, too.
Wow. There was, but I think Mark Singer only did the second Beastmaster movie.
Yeah, and then he showed back up for the TV show.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember. Yeah, I think he was in that too. Yeah, man, come on.
Beastmaster 2 is called Through the Portal of Time, and it's got like a a sports car on the front. I'm not a car guy, so I don't
It's
know.
like it got a red Mazda or something.
Yeah. I think it's like a red Mazda or something like that. And his hair's longer.
This is starting to sound like it's getting into Highlander territory, and we all know how I feel about Highlanders.
I don't know. Or is it Masters of the Universe, where we go from the land of where he's at to the land of now, which is what they do
that's
with
what it
Masters
seems
of the
like.
Universe. They go through the portal and they go hang
But
out
Highlander takes the long way
Courtney
to come to
Cox.
the present.
with, you know.
Highlander
So,
just stays alive for a long time. He doesn't go through a
Yeah.
portal. He just
Yeah, he
so
doesn't
he's
go through a
more
portal.
accustomed to the modern day. He's not like a fish out of water thing.
All right,
See
so
what
we
I'm
need to find. All right, Mr. Google Master here, Eric. What come out first, Masters of the Universe or Beastmaster 2?
I think Beastmaster 2, but
think-
okay. Master of the Universe is 87. Beastmaster 2 is 91. Sorry.
Okay, so they stole it from Masters of the Universe. But hey, didn't you say in the original book they talked about it taking place in a different time?
Yeah.
So maybe they stuck with that kind of for the book. So really, did Masters of the Universe steal that idea from Beastmaster in the book? Maybe.
Could be. I will take.
All right,
Mark,
moving on.
I'll take.
Who
Mark
knows
Sing-
and who cares?
I'll take Mark Singer over Christopher Lambert any day. That's all I'll say. I'm looking at you, Brad, from Not a Bomb.
Oh shit, calling out Brad. Well, what about this cocoon tree?
Dude, okay.
Get to
No,
the
no,
cocoon
dude, no,
tree.
hold on. No. We're backing the fuck up. We have totally missed Tanya Robert boobs.
Dude, have we not?
We already talked about
Tanya
that.
Roberts enough?
No, we need to talk about Tanya
We
Roberts.
talked
boobs
about the
for
water
20
being
minutes.
cold. We talked about you didn't look at her face. Yeah. He
then
meets.
the fact-
He tries to trick her into making sex with him. He says,
Yes.
"I'll trade. I saved your life. I'll take this as payment." Which was a little,
Yeah,
not
that's a
cool.
little-
But
little forcible.
he's basically a young man. This is what a young man would do in this situation, I think.
Does it not
back-
seem like a
back
total
in
Bill? Does it not seem like a
barbarian
Bill
times.
Murray line from Ghostbusters?
Yeah.
It does you not feel like it's a little like it's like what would Bill Murray do in this part right here from Ghostbusters? That's what I kind of felt watching it this time.
From Ghostbusters
But-
or real life.
Yeah, or real life. But considering Ghostbusters didn't happen for a couple more years, yeah, in real life. But yeah, all right, let's go to the cocoon tree, Eric. Let's talk about your cocoon tree.
So he walks up on this tree. There's really no explanation for it, which I like. I don't think they. Well, first,
Well,
that's a classic Eric Stammer. So go ahead, Josh. Fuck.
Well, I'll say like that mark on his hand kind of resembles the statue of the bird that they've got set up again next to the tree. So I'm
That has
wondering-
nothing to do with it.
It has nothing to do with it.
I don't think so. Yeah.
I thought it looked very similar, but my first thought when he approaches this tree was like, why are the cotton candy cocoons from
Oh, you got it! I wrote it in my notes. I was like, Killer Clown stole the cotton candy cocoons from this movie.
I just watched that for the first time recently, actually.
What?
Well, he finds the tree. It's a mysterious tree. It's got this weird, it's kind of Nazi-ish eagle.
Yeah.
I couldn't help
Yeah.
but like think of like the Nazis, but that's just me, I guess. But yeah, so he finds obviously this big pot, little brew going on, and it's got a head floating in it.
Like what movie?
Conan the Barbarian.
An exact pot, big stew pot full of human parts, Soylent Green.
What do you think about these guys? The winged devourers, as they're known.
I don't call them that. I call them Man-Bat.
Man,
Well, they're
yeah.
I guess they're referred
Batman
to.
reference, Man-Bat.
They're referred to as birdmen in the movie. I don't remember someone saying that. I've just found this written out, but they're referred to by like outside of the film as the winged devourers.
That's a much better name than the Birdmen.
I think the Winged Devourers would be a great band name, or perhaps an album name.
Dude, I was just about to say that. It's like, dude, that'd be an awesome metal band name. The Wicked Devourers.
Yeah, it's good.
Dar does something kind of questionable here. he lets this guy out of his cage and then proceeds to stand there and watch as they devour him. And it's like, okay, like we're at like a crisis of conscience here. Like, are these guys good? Are they bad? Like, and I think it's because of Dar's connection with animals as to why these things.
It's the bird only.
Yeah.
It's not animals.
That's what I was going to talk about. You're talking about the hand mark, the thing on his hand. It has nothing to do with it. Their statue that they have in front of their tree is a big black bird. Well, what the fuck is he walking around with? A big black eagle, and it lands on his arm. So he's like, this man commands the big black bird.
Yeah,
that is
their
who we
god.
worship.
Basically, their god. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why they let him go, is because he commands that bird. And you're thinking it's a fucking, scribble on his hand. Come on, did you watch this movie? What the hell?
All hail our master, Dar Doolittle.
Dar Doolittle.
Hey, Dar Doolittle. I like that. That's a good
Dr.
one.
Darlittle.
Dr. Darlittle.
But there's a.
But yeah,
I think it's Joe Lynch who's talking about it in the behind the scenes, and he's talking about how this movie left an impression on him. And he's like, in the '80s, like you had to make a movie that had this lighthearted adventure and whatnot, but you had to have something in it that was just scary enough to where like you just didn't want to watch it. And he's like, that was that scene for me. He's like, that scene freaked me the fuck out to where
always did.
And it's like, I did not want to watch it. Like, I had a very similar reaction with Ghostbusters. I think I talked about it in our episode. Like, when Rick Moranis' eyes light up red and he starts growling, I turned Ghostbusters off and wouldn't watch it for months because that shit scared me so bad. And I think he's definitely onto something. Like, it helps, especially when you're in your adolescence, to be watching something where it's like, okay, I think I am okay to watch this, but it's just scary enough to where like maybe I don't want to watch it. And this definitely falls in that category.
Well, I think Disney does that as well. Like the old Disney films have really dark, scary moments. Like they weren't afraid to go places back then with kids' films,
Right.
And yeah, you got Bambi's Mom. You've got some pretty scary imagery in all those classic Disney cartoon movies.
Yeah,
I mean,
the Legend of Sleepy Hollow, Fantasia, that whole thing with the big demon on top of the mountain. Dude,
fucking
that was kind of scary.
Pinocchio freaked me the fuck out as a kid.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody
yeah,
started
sure.
turning into donkeys. That shit was fucking crazy. So yeah, I mean, that's the things that I'm walking away from Beastmaster as someone watching it as an adult. I'm like, okay, I can see how kids connected with this, and it was just one of those like I was watching Nightmare on Elm Street as a young age because it was scary, and I was kind of like, I can see how this movie had that same sort of hook on any kind of kid that was watching it.
Yeah, dude, the Winged Devourers, or the Man-Bat, as I called them. Dude, that still to this day, that stuck with me. I mean, when I was watching it this time, I was waiting to get to that part. Because even their makeup, other than around the eyes, you definitely tell it's a man.
Yeah.
But, dude, like the transparent wings and everything, you can see the veins in it, and they wrap him up, and then there's just the goo following out. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that movie, it freaked me out. I remember my friend that I watched it with, her name was Amy, she would actually want to fast forward through that part. It freaked her out.
Yeah, I mean,
they're mouthless, like featureless faces are pretty creepy.
Which again has that mushroom head mask vibe. That was another thing that I couldn't get away from. But no, I mean, this is, they give him this medallion, and it's just sort of this unspoken, like, here, take this. We don't
classic
really
fantasy.
Know, we don't really know
just, like,
what this means, but
get a magical amulet talisman that you will use later. Put that in your bag, in your satchel.
Yeah,
it'll be back.
But then we proceed to move on, and he moves on to this city and discovers, Mayax is still just killing kids at random because he has to appease the god R. Is that the name? R?
Yeah, R, the pirate god. R, R, you fuckers! I'm gonna throw you in the fire. That's all I could think of. Because he kept saying R so much, I was like, it's like it reminded me of Dodgeball with Steve the pirate. R, over.
Not only do we have Rip Torn as a connection to Dodgeball, we've also got Steve the pirate.
R. That's all I kept hearing. That's what I wrote down. Is they worship a pirate god. That's all I could put down.
It's a great shot when we see the fake bird swoop in and pick up the fake kid off.
Fake kid. Yeah, the kid's just like, they give one of the wizards or the witches the fucking eyeball ring, which freaked me out as a kid too.
I love the eyeball ring. I love it.
But,
It's what a great spy.
It's cool.
A ring with an eyeball. Is it the witch's eyeball? Because later when they kill the eyeball ring, she goes,
it's her
ah!
eyeball. No, it's the eyeball from Big Trouble in Little China. It runs around.
That too.
That's all it is.
That too.
But we get that creepy ring. We run into a forest. He tries to get hung by the priest or whatever. But this is the part where we meet Seth and Tao as he's running, and he's looking through the eyes of Rue, killing all these people. But it was kind of fun. This is another bad part. He's running, and you think the guy's gone. He didn't catch him. And then the guy comes down the hill right in front of the fucking tiger to like, ooh, don't catch me. And chases him off. And then happens to fall in a pit that when you see it fall, you can see the fabric that's holding all the leaves up there. Like,
but that doesn't mean that it's not a real trap. I mean, there could just be fabric to hold the leaves up on the trap, right? I mean, they had fabric.
Yeah. No, they have no fabric back then. Not that color.
The priests built the trap, and they were getting the tiger to chase him to fall in the trap. No?
Did they build a trap, or did Seth and Tao build that trap?
I think the priest built the trap to catch the tiger. And Seth and Tao just came by to help. That's what I think.
Well, either way, we meet Seth and Tao. And this is another part I have right here with this. Let's talk about Log, Ren and Stimpy. Log.
It's big, it's heavy, it's wood.
Wood, exactly. It's big, it's heavy, it's wood that rolls. And yet Gar tries to pick it up, and then that don't work, and they look at him like this guy's an idiot. Let me go and help him. I got this big bow staff. I'll help you. And then they pick it up and move it 1 foot, and then roll it into the hole. I'm like, why didn't we just fucking roll it to begin with?
They had the staffs. They should have just pried it with the staffs. I don't know. I guess they're trying to make some metaphor that Dar needs help. He can't do things by himself. He needs friends. Blah blah blah. No, you have these poles. Use the poles as leverage. Pop them in there.
No,
just push it into the hole.
No, guys, they needed that shot of Mark Singer squatting down, grabbing it, and being like, "Hey, check out my wood."
Hey, Seth. Everyone's got crazy names in this, and then there's Seth. It's like Dar, Mayax, Fred. You know,
dude. I mean, and like I said, we had Seth at the beginning of the movie, but you're not saying, but did we meet him here? And I grew up watching Good Times and stuff like that, and that's all I can think of him from is that.
Oh yeah.
As the dad and telling JJ to shut the hell up or whatever. I can't remember what he always told him. But dude, I like that guy. Back in the 80s, he was like the Samuel Jackson of that time. He showed up in a lot.
Coming to America, Die Hard 2,
yep. McDowell, Die Hard, on.
He was in a lot of TV. Yeah. He's definitely a familiar face, and he's cool.
I would think him and Rip Torn were the headliners in this movie. Like if you were to do Almost Famous, it would have to be one of them too.
Yeah, I mean, John Amos was a big get for this movie. They wanted him for the part when they started writing the movie. So it was sort of a part that they did for him. So they were happy to cast him in it. You know, Dar decides, you know, he's got to go save Kiri because she is on her way to death. Mayax has put her to a death sentence, so it's time to intercept and save the day. So,
along with Seth and Tao, they're going to help.
Luckily,
it's Tao's cousin.
Yeah, luckily they've found some pilgrim. He's found these pilgrims that are going to help him out, and just lo and behold, Tao is her cousin. That's just the most convenient plot twist in the movie.
That's because there's only like 30 people in this movie. It's not that hard to like run into somebody who's related.
But I will say, once they do rescue Kiri and they get on the raft and they're escaping from the priest and everything, she's pretty fucking ruthless, man. Like, she does not think twice about knocking those priests overboard, drowning them.
Oh, yeah.
She's lighten the load. Okay, bye.
But this is also one of the scenes where I'm like, okay, this is an action sequence that needed to be a little more exciting because they're just sitting there pulling this raft out into the water.
I have a note that's just like, this slow-mo escape is ridiculous. Like they're like 30 feet from the shore, and the guys are like, "Well, I'm out of bolts. Are you out of bolts? Yeah, I'm out of bolts." Well,
Yeah,
I
they're
guess
shooting
they got away.
crossbows at them. They could have hit
throw
them
a
from
rock
that
at
far
'em.
away.
Well, they went to the stormtrooper school of aiming, so they
Exactly.
that's
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, we finally, get her saved, and we get to a point where we can, start to kind of collectively figure out where we're going to go with the rest of this movie. And this is one of the, you mentioned earlier that this movie's a little long, probably because it has two different endings. We're on our way to that. But I do love when they get back to the town. And then we start to figure out how much of an underbelly this place has. They've kept Zed, trapped in the pyramid this entire time. Removed his eyes, which is pretty fucking freaky. And then we see we enter the BDSM dungeon.
Dude. The death guards.
Yeah,
or whatever they're called.
And this is great. Like I love that we've not seen these things at all in the movie so far. It's another one of those things that's like just scary enough to you where you're like, whoa, what's happening? Like I see glowing eyes, I see spiky arms coming out from from the grates, and it's a little silly that he does the whole like rappel over them to get to the other side.
Dude, I was watching that part where the arms come out and the glowy eyes, and I was like, did they go steal Kerry King's gauntlets from Slayer for these parts right here with all the freaking spikes and stuff on them? I was like, dude, they stole this from his freaking wardrobe at the Slayer concert in L.A.
Yeah, I mean, what's the worst that they're going to do? They're going to tear up your legs a little bit? I mean, I guess if one of them grabbed hold of your leg, they could pull you in and rip you apart.
Yeah, maybe.
Did Spielberg watch this before making Temple of Doom?
It's possible.
A hero, a woman, a kid, a temple, traps.
Well, I have a fondness for Spielberg, but I'm also seeing that Spielberg borrows a lot of things from other movies too. If you listen to the James Bond retrospective podcast that I do for New Eyes Only, you'll hear us reference Spielberg quite a few times because it's apparent that he wanted the Indiana Jones movies to be some sort of a James Bond movie because there are so much similar things that happen.
Right. Well, they're based on those like old serials or whatever. I mean, he's not, he's not shy about talking about his influences, but
yeah, I mean, it's crazy how much Spielberg and Nolan really want to make a Bond movie and haven't made a Bond movie yet.
Yeah, I was gonna say, did Christopher Nolan do anything from this movie?
Well, I will say they took the little earworms from Wrath of Khan when they make these glowy eye monsters.
I have that in my notes. Yeah. It's like, this is totally Wrath of Khan right here.
Which
but dude,
I love
this
that.
is a part. Yeah, this is a part that freaked me out as a kid. These things scared me.
Yeah,
watching it as a like you had man bats. This was the second thing in this movie that freaked me out. Is the when they put that thing in his ear and all that goo shit starts foaming out of his ears, dude. I still have a thing for like my ears. Like these things, you will see me when I'm recording. I pull them out because after a while I don't like shit in my ear, and I think it's from this fucking movie and Wrath of Khan.
Yeah,
I was like, there's something in my ear.
Wrath of Khan is the only Star Trek movie that I have any sort of remembrance of. I know I've seen a few of them, but I couldn't tell you anything about them. But Wrath of Khan has always stuck with me because of that bug in the ear scene. That shit freaked me out when I was a kid. Now, as they're getting away, they rescue Seth and they rescue King Zed, and they're getting away. I want to know, as a kid watching this, or anytime you've watched it, was there a moment where you thought that Kiri might have been playing for the other team, or like was a witch or something? Because she does some really strange shit in these couple of scenes. Number one,
she
sneaks
walks
off.
away.
Yeah, she walks off and goes through this trap door and changes her outfit. Like she just needed an outfit change so she could fight bad guys in a shorter skirt.
Yeah, and there's a part right there, by the way, when you come back. That's where I wanted to ask Josh, did we see pubes? When she comes back, there is a total crotch shot of her wearing striped underwear underneath her loincloth. I was like, wardrobe, because right after that, she's wearing leather underwear. But right there, you're like, that totally looks like striped underwear. And I was like,
Josh,
does
a 4K reveal any
Yeah, you watched this on a better version than we did.
You dirtbag.
Didn't see any on my copy. But there's, when they're escaping and that skull door or whatever it is they rise up.
Yeah.
She goes down that with Zed, and while he's waiting for Kodo and Podo, she just fucking appears in the room again.
Yes,
Like,
yes.
Where did she come from?
I think I think that was an editing and story issue right there.
It must have been, because I was like, wait, is she a fucking witch or something? Like, she just went down with everybody else, and now she's back in this room. It's really weird the way that scene plays out.
Well, now that you mention it, I'm thinking, at the end of the movie, when he leaves, she's still at the city, and all of a sudden, she's right there behind you. Like, out of nowhere.
Maybe it's implied. I don't know. I mean, it could be those crystal blue eyes she has, or disguising her. I don't know. But I just found it really weird that she just suddenly like disappears and reappears a couple of times in this movie.
Yeah, you could say she was hiding behind the skull. I don't know. It doesn't make sense.
Nah.
And it seemed like the skull was the only escape, but then they just go out the air tube. I mean, I guess they had to repel.
Yeah, but they did have the scale down rappel down the side of the cliff there.
Which, again, has some fucking Conan vibes, big time.
Yeah. Going up into the tower, the snake tower.
Yep.
And all this. Yep.
And then lo and behold, Sako just happens to be riding by as they fall off the cliff. That's pretty convenient as well. But
yeah, because the one Death Guard, he was chasing Podo and Kodo, which I like that scene. It's kind of funny of this animalistic beast trying to chase Podo and Kodo through the pipes and shit, and he's tearing. And then but like you said, he falls out to this death, and then they fall immediately after it.
And the other thing that's funny is they introduce these BDSM fucking sex demon monsters, and like, there's the one that's chasing the ferrets through the hallways. There's like 3 or 4 that chase them out of the gate, and the gate comes down on them, which is pretty badass. But then that's it. We don't ever see them again. It's like, you could have brought them back for the final battle. Like, they're just killing machines, and then they only utilize them for that one section of the movie.
Dude, you could have totally, like, set them free and let them chase you out, and then as you went under the gate, you could have had ropes where they pull you up, and then they could have attacked the Jun Horde. Game over.
Yeah, I mean, that
would
have
been
been sweet.
Shut the gate behind them.
Yeah, you could definitely play with you could play with the idea that they basically attack everything, even, they can't really be controlled. So, yeah, you'd think it would, in another movie, that's what would happen, right? Like, they would use them somehow as like a tool.
But, I do want to talk about what Josh said with them sliding underneath the gate. I love how they run up as the gate comes down, and they all just, like, lay down real quick so the gate can close on them. I'm like, wow. That's a bad
that was I liked that. I liked that scene though. I liked how they got all spiked on the thing or whatever.
Well, yeah, it's convenient that they're all 3 laying directly under where the spikes come down.
Yeah.
But no, this is where we have our Willow moment where they decide that they've got to go after Mayax, and then you get the reveal that he tells his unborn son that he doesn't know is his unborn son to go run off and crawl down a hole with his animals.
He's a freak. He calls him a freak. And
that's weird, isn't it?
The fake fucking tears, dude. Oh man, that's bad. We see. Hey, Conan doesn't cry. Remember, because his buddy cries for him. Because Conan does not cry.
Yeah, they should have had the eagle crying for it.
It landed on his shoulder and you see a drop.
Jason, strong men also cry.
Oh,
strong men also.
But Conan doesn't cry.
So here's where we get to our first of 2 endings to this movie. I'm going to call this one the Conan ending because it's basically the end of Conan the Barbarian. We got to fight our way up a fucking pyramid to get to the bad guy. One of the things about the steps, we talked about how steep this pyramid is. Apparently, the steps on it were only like 6 inches wide. So, like, they could barely, like, get toes on it. But Mark Singer was a trooper, and, like, he would run up and down it without any issues. So everybody was
He's in crazy good shape. I mean, good God.
Yeah.
The guy's, like, freaking
amazing. He talks about in the behind the scenes how he was, he was, had a sensei for like karate, and he was doing kung fu and all this different stuff. So, and he was always working out in between takes and whatnot, trying to keep himself in shape. So it's obvious. I mean, dude's fucking ripped in this movie.
He is. He's shredded.
But this ending, I say this ending, it's a little lackluster. I would have expected more out of a battle between Mayax and Dar here.
Dar.
But it's really just in an effort to save King Zed, who they end up not saving. Zed's dead, baby.
Zed's dead.
Zed's dead.
No, what really
Slit his
bothers
throat.
me, what really bothers me about this is they have the reveal that Zed is your actual father, right?
Yeah.
And Dar processes that for a moment, and then he gets Kiri, and he's forgotten about, oh, I just found out that's my dad, and this is my cousin, and
I'm going to nail my cousin.
the kid is my
later.
brother, and I'm the true heir, and all this stuff. All he cares about is Kiri at this point.
Yeah, I'm from Alabama. My name is Dar. I love my cousin. And
Glass houses, Texas boy.
oh
Well,
no, that's West Virginia, Alabama. That's all that stuff up that way. Not over here, bro.
Well, it's funny because the fact that she's related to him also ties into my comparison about the second ending to this movie. Season 8, Episode 3, The Long Night of Game of Thrones. But no, I turned on that episode of Game of Thrones today, and it is crazy how much the end of this movie is a lot like that. I mean, you've got the moat around it that has the flammable stuff that they're going to set ablaze to once the horde gets close. Same thing happens in Game of Thrones. You've got the point where like they pile over the fire so they can cross over the moat to get into the castle. Like, so that bears the question: did Game of Thrones take some story stuff from this movie?
I think
the
so.
The first Game of Thrones book didn't come out until '96, so
Maybe he was a Beastmaster fan.
maybe George R.R. Martin was like, "Hey, I remember that scene in Beastmaster would be a good thing to put in this book." I don't know if that was in the books or if that's one of the things that they generated for the show, because it is the last season of the show, so it would be unfair for me to blame George R.R. Martin for that. And maybe it's
Because he watches the show.
yeah, maybe it would be the writers for Game of Thrones that pulled the influence from that. But it is uncanny how much the end of this movie resembles that episode of Game of Thrones.
Wait. Who made the Game of Thrones? The show? What network?
HBO.
HBO.
Where did Beastmaster play all the fucking time?
Hey, Beastmaster's on.
So, dun dun dun. Hey, all right, we gotta write this cool fucking fight scene for the end of this fucking show, dude. Beastmaster was on yesterday. Oh yeah, you remember the moat scene? Yeah, that's exactly it. You know, because I've watched it 700 times because I work at HBO. So,
Right.
I
and
will-
let's have the love interest be cousins.
Yeah.
that's what y'all was talking about Game of Thrones earlier. I thought that's where
Yeah.
you were gonna go.
That's
with,
what I was-
with the
that's
whole
what I was
cousin. That's what
No.
you were going with.
No, I'm going with the entire season 8, episode 3 is basically the end of this movie. I will say
can get-
though, that hour that episode is one of the best hours of TV. Like it is amazing. Having just watched it today, like whew.
Now, where Beastmaster is superior, it's better well lit than that episode.
I don't know,
I
man.
remember.
I think they did some correction or something because I didn't have a problem seeing it when I watched it today.
Yeah,
And
I remember I was visiting and you were watching that for the first time at your
Yeah.
house the day that, and I was like, I can't fucking see shit. What's going on? It's like black.
yeah, a lot of
So,
people
yeah, they
complained
may have
about
done
that
it.
episode.
They may have went in and lightened it up, something like
Yeah.
that. But yeah, if it was the first airing, this segment is definitely better well lit than the HBO version. So
Sorry, what do you guys think of the battle? Just the actual fighting, like once the horde gets in, you know, like
These are the most exciting fight scenes in the movie, in my opinion.
yeah,
Like,
it's by far the best part right here. If you're
Uh,
fighting like in a barbarian movie, like with Conan fighting, when he's doing his thing there at the Stonehenge Monuments thing or wherever he's at, that's kind of like this part right here where you just got
Yep.
everybody fighting.
yeah.
It works out really well.
And it's funny, the guy they had doing the stunts and whatnot for the guy that's in the horde mask, the Batwing mask,
Lord Humongous.
Lord Humongous. he was like, he approached Mark Singer when they were doing that scene, and they were like, they're gonna have you swinging a sword with me. Like he thought he was gonna hurt Mark Singer when they were doing the stunt choreography for this. But I think Mark Singer holds his own. I like I said, I think this is definitely the high point of the movie. Like, this is the most exciting fight scene in the movie for sure.
I was gonna say, if you know, everybody talks about the sword and the caber and stuff. I actually think the Jun Hord's weapon is more memorable to me in this movie. I mean, well, it's right there with the caber, because that thing's fucking awesome. It's like a battle axe. It turns into a fucking mace. It's a staff. It's every fucking. He can do anything he wants to with this motherfucker.
Yeah,
I'm
then
like,
he
wait for it to
spins
pull,
it on
like
a chain.
Yeah, like a mace. Like he swings it around like a mace. It's like a Swiss
yeah,
Army staff. It does everything. It's got toenail clippers in the backside of it. I don't know.
I can't believe I'm going to say this because I'm going to Conan territory again, but it reminds me of the thing that Wilt Chamberlain carried around in Conan the Destroyer.
Yep. It does.
Yeah.
Dude, that just totally, when you just, yeah. Who stole it from that then?
Well, I mean, that movie definitely came out later.
Yeah, it definitely came out after this. So, hey, did Conan steal from this movie after the fact? Yes.
We'll never know.
So, I don't know. Go ahead, Eric.
When you guys were kids, did you draw like swords and cool weapons and stuff on your paper at school and stuff like that? Or
Of
just
course,
me?
Why not? No, I did.
Draw
all
like
the time.
crazy curved blades and like basically this kind of shit, right? Like chains with a handle, and you just like invent like these outlandish weapons. I did. I don't know. I thought that was that was like an influence from all these movies. Like you see all these crazy weapons and you just doodle all that stuff.
Most certainly.
Well,
That was a great weapon.
I don't know if I was drawing them and whatnot, but like I was definitely that all had a big influence on my childhood because I was obsessed with Conan's sword. I was obsessed with some of the gun. I mean, we did our top 4 guns episode. Like I was obsessed with some of the guns people were using in the action movies I was watching, which is weird considering I'm not a gun person in my adult life. Like as a kid, I ate all that shit up. I loved all that stuff. But yeah, I loved swords. Like we sort of mentioned it in the Last Dragon episode. Like anytime we had like this hidden compartment that had swords and knives and all the gear you would use to go into battle, I loved all that shit when I was a kid.
For sure.
Now, did anybody figure out the foreshadowing of when they at the first ending when he gives the eagle the medallion? Because they said they know they needed an army and they needed help to fight the Jun Hord, and he gave that to the bird, and the bird flies off with it.
Yeah, I
Did
figured
you
he was
know that
sending
they
it,
were gonna show
sending
up?
for help. Yeah.
Okay.
It was nice to get that. It was nice to get that payoff. I mean, it's like, okay,
exactly.
What did this medallion? What was the purpose it served? And then you get the payoff there at the end. That's another kind of weird thing about battle scenes, especially in movies that take place in areas like this and Game of Thrones and whatnot. Is like I'm watching that episode of Game of Thrones today, and Daenerys is just flying over, like melting people with the dragon fire, and it's like, your own people are down there, right? Like how much of those bat people were eating up just like random people that were good guys?
Well,
I don't think any.
Well, it was easy. They found the guys wearing the BDMS gear, and that's who they ate. Everybody else was dressed in like cloths. So, you're wearing leather, you're dead. You're wearing leather, you're dead. So
it was outside the walls, and I think we just had a small group, right? We just had Tar and Kiri and the kid.
Yeah.
We only had a handful of people outside the wall. So
that's true. Yeah.
I think the bird people. I think they only killed bad guys here. In defense of the bird people, I'll be.
I could go with that. I mean, makes sense.
Good.
Man bat.
Now, we didn't mention this in the first ending, but when Podo, was it Podo or Kodo that dies in the fire?
Toto dies. Oh, you're talking about
Kodo.
the ferret.
Kodo.
Kodo
Yeah,
dies.
when Kodo jumped on Mayax and knocked him into the fire, he sacrificed himself for Dar. It was Kodo.
Yeah. I was a little
was
upset
Kodo.
by that. I didn't want that little guy to die.
No. Well, dude,
Definitely not.
It's a little ferret, dude. You don't want him to die at all. I didn't want the dog to die.
And he's a
The
daddy.
dog died.
He was about to be a daddy. A daddy
Yeah,
ferret.
but at least we got little baby ferrets at the end.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Hold on, I gotta interject something. I just realized something about what's his name, Mark Singer, the guy that played Dar. I've been saying this word. I've been calling these things man bats. That guy voiced the Doctor who played the man bat in Batman the Animated Series.
God damn, dude.
I just
What?
read that, and I'm like, I've been calling these things man bats, and Mark Singer actually voiced the man bat Doctor in the Batman the Animated Series.
Wow, that's a weird connection.
Jason's making
Holy
all
shit.
kinds of connections tonight, man.
I
It's
know.
crazy.
That's a weird shit, man. I don't know what's going on. Yo, I don't know.
But then we
That's Hollywood
we-
for you.
we defeat the Judd Horde, and he does the honorable thing. He lets Tao go be the king of the city. He decides
He
he's
survived.
He's gonna go on and do his own thing. Yeah. We didn't even talk about Tao got a bolt to the shoulder.
I thought he was gonna die.
I thought,
oh,
like,
shit,
it was
they
like,
killed
it hits
him.
him like right here. That's
Yeah.
a kill shot.
I know.
Oh no, he's alive. We got
He's
him.
fine.
Rub some
He's
dirt
fine.
on it. Okay.
But he runs off into the night with his animal friends, and Kiri comes stumbling after so she can make out with him on a big rock.
On a big rock.
Again. Again, is
So-
she a witch? Because he left, he was gone, and she was still in the fucking city. And he ran. I mean, he was hauling ass, and the next thing you know, she's right there, putting her hand on his shoulder. Hey, I'm right here. I'm your cousin. It's okay.
Yeah,
we're from
I-
we're from Birmingham. It's okay. We're from it's all right.
From Birmingham.
I really hope we don't have any fans that are from Alabama, because goddamn, they're gonna hate Jason. What are we giving Beastmaster out of a score from 1 to 100? What do we think? I'll go first since I'm the noob here for Beastmaster. I'm going 65. I'm gonna go 65 on Beastmaster.
I'll go next. I'm gonna give it a 55. Pretty low. This was a slog for me. I was excited to watch it, because I hadn't seen it in probably 20 plus years. It just took forever. It took me 3 sittings. I got bored and stopped watching. Came back, got tired the next time. I don't know.
From your social media post, it seemed like you were pretty excited to talk about this movie. So
Yeah!
that's surprising.
All those posts were from the beginning of the film, more or less.
All right, Jason, as the pure nostalgia here, what are you rating Beastmaster out of 100?
I give it a 66.
66. Even the guy that loves it gave it a 66. The 55 doesn't sound so bad, does it?
Hey, I give it a 66. Like I said, I do have a lot of nostalgia for this movie, and I do love it. But there are, I can't do the math right now. 34 points of movies better than this movie, but I
For
do
sure.
like it. I mean, I've given movies way less than this, but yeah, it's still like watching it this time is. I mean, I've seen it here not too long ago. Actually, I thought it had been a while when I went to go to Prime to watch it. It was still on there, so I was like, "Oh shit, I have watched this movie in the last couple of years." But it was definitely still a fun watch. It just doesn't hold up. Like when we're doing a critical review of this and what we think of it, good and bad and whatever parts of it. There's parts of this movie that are freaking horrible. The dialogue is horrible. It literally looks like people are reading cue cards at the camera.
Yeah.
I think,
but nostalgia, I love it. It reminds me of my childhood. Always.
Well, I think it's funny. We talk about watching pieces of it on HBO. I think it works better that way.
Yeah.
You just get a little piece of it, but watching it start to finish is kind of a slog. But watching it in pieces, if you come in and watch this dude, talking to his animals, it's kind of cool. I mean, it's a cool concept. There's some cool imagery in the movie. Cool moments. Just overall, not great as a complete package.
But see, I never watched it in segments. I mean, literally, when I was here on the weekend, if I was next door at my friend's house, her mom would make us lunch, and we would watch it from beginning to end. We watched Secret of NIMH from beginning to end. So I never watched it in pieces. I always watched it all.
Okay.
I mean, if I would have seen this movie as a kid, I definitely would have. I would definitely have nostalgia for it. There are the scary little bits in it, and the hand-to-hand combat at the end. Like, there's things in there that I know would have resonated with me as a kid. It's just as an adult and having seen much better portrayals of these kind of movies in Conan and Krull and all that different kind of stuff. Like this one, just I missed it as a kid, and it just doesn't hold that nostalgic nostalgic thing for me. So that's where, I mean, I didn't hate watching this movie, but I've definitely seen better movies than this. So,
Yeah.
but, well, that's going to do it for our discussion about Beastmaster. Tell us in the comments below, what do you think of Beastmaster? Do you have nostalgia for this movie? Do you think it's a slag? Let us know in the comments below. We'd love to talk with you about it. All right, everybody, make sure you visit our Redbubble store so you can get you some VHS Files merch. We just dropped some new designs there, so please head over. Eric's been designing some new stuff and putting it up, so we'll go represent VHS Files, get you some merchandise over at our Redbubble store, and visit our friends over at Cavity Colors. If you like horror movies, if you like campy stuff, I mean, they've got horror movie t-shirts and whatnot over at Cavity Colors. You can get 10% off your entire order with the code VHS Files Podcast. The link will be in the description box below. But that'll be it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hitting the like button. Hit subscribe if you enjoyed this video. We definitely appreciate it. And until we see you next time, be kind. Rewind.
Rewind.
Arr. If you can dodge a fire.